It was a cold Tuesday evening when Adrian Cole, one of the city's most elusive millionaires, glanced down from his penthouse window, watching the faint figure of his maid, Lila, disappear into the thick blur of the bustling street. She'd just finished cleaning his apartment, quietly slipping out as she always did, no demands, no small talk, no complaints. She was always punctual, polite, and almost invisible. But that day, something about her lingered in his mind. Maybe it was the way she had folded his late wife's blanket that morning, brushing her fingers over the worn threads with a kind of reverence. Maybe it was the quiet fatigue in her eyes, the way her smile didn't quite reach them anymore. Or maybe it was something deeper, a sense that this woman, so often overlooked, carried a world of silence no one bothered to listen to. Adrian was not a man given to whims. His empire was built on calculated risks, not emotional impulses. But that night, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Without informing his driver or security, he grabbed his coat and slipped into the evening fog, quietly following Lila from a distance. She didn't take the bus or hail a cab. Instead, she walked miles past glittering storefronts and into neighborhoods where the streetlights flickered and the buildings looked like tired lungs. She walked fast, shoulders hunched, carrying a small paper bag of groceries in one hand and her bag in the other. Her pace never faltered, until she reached a narrow alley and disappeared inside a crumbling apartment block. Adrian hesitated. He'd never been in that part of the city. He looked up at the broken windows and worn-out balcony railings. What was she doing here? He crept closer, peering through the lobby window where the flickering lights buzzed overhead. Then he saw her, Lila, kneeling beside a wheelchair, her face transformed. The stern, quiet maid was gone. In her place was a woman so full of tenderness it caught Adrian off guard. She was feeding a boy, maybe 10, with pale skin and sunken cheeks. The boy's limbs were thin, and he wore oversized clothes, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. Adrian felt something crack deep inside him. He watched as Lila pulled out a small toy from her pocket and handed it to the boy. The boy giggled, then coughed, the sound harsh and rattling. She stroked his hair, whispering something soft, and for a moment, the world beyond those walls didn't exist. Adrian left before he could be seen. That night, sleep eluded him. His mind kept returning to the image of Lila, the silent sacrifice, the unwavering strength. The next morning, he sat in his office, unable to focus. He searched through her employment file. There was no mention of a child. No emergency contacts. Just her name, her ID, and her near-perfect attendance. He called her in that afternoon under the pretense of reviewing her hours. She entered with her usual quiet grace. "You wanted to see me, sir?" He looked up from his desk. "Lila, how long have you been working for me?" "Almost 3 years, sir." "And before that?" She hesitated. "I worked in a hospital, as a nursing assistant." "And why did you leave?" Her voice dropped. "My son was diagnosed with a rare neuromuscular disorder. The treatments were expensive, and I couldn't keep both jobs and take care of him. This job offered better pay, and flexible hours." Adrian swallowed. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "I could've." She lifted her eyes, and for the first time, he saw the quiet storm in them. "Because, sir, people like me, were taught not to expect help. We do what we must. We survive." He nodded slowly. "What's his name?" "Daniel." "And what does he need?" She looked confused, maybe a little scared. "Why are you asking?" Adrian leaned forward. "Because I followed you last night. I saw him. I saw you. And I think I've spent so much time building towers, I forgot what humanity looked like. You reminded me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Within a week, Daniel was transferred to a top pediatric hospital. Adrian personally arranged for a team of specialists to handle his case. He also set up a trust fund under Daniel's name, ensuring he'd never have to worry about treatment again. But perhaps more importantly, he visited every week. At first, Daniel was shy around the billionaire with the expensive shoes and guarded smile. But over time, they bonded, over comic books, Lego sets, and a shared love for vanilla ice cream. Lila watched from the doorway sometimes, heart full and quiet, grateful in ways she didn't have words for. Months passed. Daniel began responding to treatment. His cheeks grew fuller, his laughter louder. On his birthday, Adrian hosted a party in his penthouse, inviting staff, nurses, and even his own estranged brother. A soft reconciliation sparked by the light Daniel had unknowingly brought into his life. But the real change wasn't just medical. Adrian, the man who once saw people as roles to be filled, began noticing the stories behind their uniforms. He started an employee fund for single parents, hired more women in leadership roles, and set up free childcare at his company headquarters. Lila, who initially declined promotion offers, eventually accepted a role as the head of employee wellness, a position created just for her. When a reporter later asked Adrian during an interview what made him shift from being just a powerful businessman to a philanthropist, he simply said, "I followed my mate home once. What I discovered changed my life." The story spread. People shared it online. Not because of the money or the status, but because in a world that often moves too fast, one man slowed down long enough to see someone. Really see them. And in doing so, he found the family he didn't know he needed.